Since the rise and fall of Telltale Games, and hopefully soon to be rise again, the narrative-driven choose-your-own-adventure style games are few and far between. Also, they don't have the best reputation for being accessible for disabled players. With Interior Night's new As Dusk Falls, does that change? And is this the most fully accessible game for blind players on Xbox? Let's find out. I'm Steve Saylor, I'm blind, and if you're curious as to how I can play video games if I'm blind, if you take a look at the video here and the video is not there, click the link in the description down below to see exactly what I see when I'm playing video games. And also while you're down there, click the subscribe and like buttons to help grow this channel. As Dusk Falls is currently an Xbox and Steam exclusive game from the folks at Interior Night. It's a game that singles around an ensemble cast and a motion graphic comic book art style where the story weaves through several characters during which is admittedly a really bad day in a series of bad days. Without giving any of the story away and spoiling it, you are faced with two interweaving stories filled with several flashbacks as the main characters deal with the aftermath of a hostage situation slowly going wrong for everyone. The Telltale-style decision-based gameplay is what draws you in, but it's the story that makes you stay as you get invested in the characters themselves. The story is inspired from, as studio director Caroline Marchel said in an interview on Kinda Funny, shows like Breaking Bad and Fargo, as well as films such as No Country for Old Men and Dog Day Afternoon. And actually those properties are pretty apropos for the style of this game in regards to its story. The gameplay also adds an audience participation experience as you can play the game with up to 8 players using controllers or an official companion app on your phone. Plus, if you stream the game on Twitch, the audience can use Twitch chat to help influence the choices, while also using the ability to have players use a limited number of overrides to push the decision their way, making this a communal story than just a singular streamer's story. When it comes to the accessibility of the game, there is a lot to talk about, especially for the blind low vision community. But before I get into that, the game does offer accessibility for a lot of disabled players. The controls have been simplified to using only a few buttons, which you can remap, but the default on a controller only uses the face buttons, the left thumbstick, and the optional D-pad. This gives the player a lot of flexibility to remap buttons without having to swap one control over another and being forced to use all the buttons on the controller or keyboard. You also have the ability to use the aforementioned companion app to use the touchscreen as a mouse if you have trouble using a controller or a mouse and keyboard. There are QTE sequences in the game that you cannot turn off or autocomplete. However, you can extend the timers in case you have limited movement, as well as the ability to select single tap instead of button mash for those sequences. For times when you need to use the left thumbstick, whether to swipe up, down, left, right, or in a full circle, the game is generous and you can go at your own pace where you don't need to be fast to succeed, even more so if you extend those timers. Also, the game does use cursor-based navigation to move around the environment when you need to make in-game decisions. However, you can adjust the cursor sensitivity with the default actually being the slowest. As well, you can navigate using the D-pad for all in-game decisions and menus. For deaf and hard of hearing players, there are several subtitle options including size, color, and background adjustments. There aren't any full captions for sound effects, which lessens the experience. And the only other issue I saw was there are times when you hear conversations happening off camera while the main character of the scene is having a separate conversation. Both are subtitled, which is great, but it can be hard to focus on what you should focus on. This is difficult because in-game, the off-camera dialogue volume is lowered so you can focus on the main conversation, but the subtitles don't tell you that. Now let's talk about the blind low vision accessibility. This is by far the closest Xbox has ever gotten to being a fully accessible experience for blind low vision players, especially for sightless players. For low vision players, the UI interface is large with barely any small text. There are some throughout the entire interface, but the important menu text is large enough to see for low vision players. The only exception is in regards to the decision tree you can view at the end of each chapter. The interface is small, but you can zoom into the decision tree itself to get a closer look. As well, you can hover over sections that have a pop-up that displays the same information with larger text. For gamers without sight, there is thankfully a full menu and in-game narration for all text, including you can enable text-to-speech and vice versa for multiplayer text chat. What I think is really cool though is how you enable narration. If you're on the Xbox console and you have the system narrator turned on the first boot up of the game, it will actually check your Xbox profile and automatically turn on narration for you. You can't adjust the voice type or speed in-game, but it does use the same settings you have enabled in narrator. If you're on Steam, if you wait for a few seconds when the main menu comes up, the game will also automatically turn on narration for you. That is really cool. We've never seen a game be seamless with enabling blind accessibility right at the get-go, while also tapping into what the player has enabled in the console system. I would love to be able to see more games tap into the system level accessibility in this fashion. I will say though, while this is almost a fully sightless experience, it does miss in two areas. There are times you are interacting within a room and you have multiple areas to explore. The labels are narrated, but there are times when there are no audio descriptions of what you are looking at and there is no dialogue giving a reaction. For example, in one of the scenes you play as Jay and you are exploring a living room. You can choose to look at a shelf that has a photograph of a family, but there is no audio describing that photograph of who's in the picture or what it is Jay is even looking at. It's basically just silent. As well, there are no audio descriptions for any of its scenes other than when you switch locations, the narrator does read the on-screen text of where and when the scene is taking place. The only other area that just misses the mark for sightless players is the companion app. It doesn't utilize voiceover at all, at least when I tested it on iOS. You can give sightless players a controller instead of using the app as a workaround, but it would be great to see the app get an update to enable voiceover and haptic feedback for cursor controls to mitigate the need for that workaround. Overall though, this is a really great experience for blind, low vision players and one I highly recommend. Overall, this is by far the best accessible narrative-driven game I have ever played, and it has a great story and accessible gameplay, and paired with a great multiplayer experience, this is a game I would most definitely recommend for disabled players to pick up and play over and over again, just to see where all the story branches take you. And by the way, I hope there is gonna be a sequel. I need to know what happened and I needs it now. As Dusk Falls is available on Xbox and Steam and Xbox Game Pass right now.
Hi, so I'm actually editing this video on the plane and I didn't include a view swirl when I recorded this. So what I would give As Dusk Falls for accessibility is a 4 out of 5.
That is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below. And also, while you're there, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment or question about the game in and of itself. If you have any other specifics that I didn't get to talk about in this review, please ask in the comments and I'll try the best I can to be able to answer as best as possible. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. As always, I remain obediently yours. Bye.